Good afternoon, everyone, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the empowerment service of the Well Oasis International. For the past couple of months, we've been looking at the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John C. Maxwell. And today we are going to take a look at Law 9, the Law of the Ladder. The Law of the Ladder, Law 9. The Law of the Ladder, my name is Sola Goodluck. Welcome, everybody. The Law of the Ladder says character growth determines the height of your personal growth. Character growth determines the height of your personal growth. And Doug Farbour says, achievement to most people is something you do. Achievement to most people is something you do. To the high achiever, it is something you are. To the high achiever, it is something you are. The law of the ladder really focuses on character. And character is really based on what values and principles a person has. Normally, for personal growth, it's more than expanding your mind academically or your intellectual or personal skill. It means increasing your capacity as a human being or becoming the best version of yourself that there is. And so, as the law of the ladder says, growing your character is what will determine how far you grow personally. And by extension, you achieving success in life. John Maxwell starts by giving us an illustration of a story about a friend of his called Jerry Anderson. He described him as a wonderful person and a very successful businessman, but also indicates that he didn't start as a very successful businessman, and tells us the story about how Jerry was a person of ambition. His desire was to become a successful businessman in life. He had the ambition, he had the drive, and he had, the wherewithal. But even though he tried over and over, he started different kinds of businesses. He put his all in them. He failed. I think he started 3 different types of businesses in which he ended up failing. They'll succeed for a short period, but at the end of it, you have to shut it down. And so, even if you have the goal of where you want to go, it doesn't presuppose that you're going to succeed. What happened with Jerry was that he was determined not to give up. And so he met up with a man named John Schrock, who was the kind of mentor to his partner, Benny Torrance, and asked point blank how John Schrock, who was a successful businessman, had managed to be so successful in his business dealings. And John Schrock told him that he based his business dealings on values and principles. That was something Jerry had no idea of. And John Schrock told him that, well, he had this book that he had written down these values and principles in, and incidentally, these values and principles were lifted from the book of Proverbs and sorted out by subject. He said he always carried it with him, and whenever he has a question regarding his business or any problem, he goes to this book to get an answer. A book of values and principles based on the book of Proverbs. That's food for thought. John gave a copy of the book to Jerry, and Jerry ran with it. He gathered, about 5 or 6 men together with him, and they studied this book weekly. And after studying this book diligently, his business began to turn around. He started to succeed in business. He started various businesses which became successes. And after that, he even went further to, align with John Schrock and started teaching these principles and values to businessmen and even to the nations of the world. They took it everywhere. They took it to the marketplace, and people, corporate executives, and, everywhere they took these values and principles, everybody saw a turnaround. And so they formed a company called Lared, which was invited from nation to nation to teach these values and principles all over. Some of the subjects of these values and principles are things like attitude, restraint, ownership, listening, honesty, humility, etc. These values that they taught helped to change the culture of a university which, had been known, or in Guatemala, for being a uni that takes bribes or trades for grades. But when they taught them these values, they even took it further, and students that go through the university were also taught these values, which people found useful and were able to use to succeed. One last thing I'll mention about Jerry is that company, Lared, was invited even to a prison in Colombia to teach the guards there, to indoctrinate them with these values. This prison was a notoriously violent and corrupt drug prison. But at the end of the day, even, a year and a half later, the prisoners actually, after, they were asked, said they wanted to be like the guards. The guards that were taught these values and principles became like role models for the prisoners. And Lared has gone on to the nations of the world, teaching governments, educating them about values and principles. And so this is important because values and principles lead to character growth. And character growth determines the height of your personal growth. And your personal growth, if you don't grow personally, you cannot and will not reach your potential. Character is key to whether you succeed or you excel. Let's put that aside now and see what is the value of character. What is the value of character? Typically, most people value a person's success based on their education or their reputation, or how they have built themselves outwardly. But the value of character can be traced to how good your character is. How good your character is. Not your intellectual prowess or your degrees, because you are only valuable to the degree that you sustain a good character. In looking at leadership, for example, if you want to become a leader or in leadership, two professors, James Kouzes and Barry Posner, they spent more than 25 years surveying leaders in all organizations and in the 6 continents, taking over 75,000 questionnaires, asking people what values or personal traits or characteristics do you look for and admire in a leader? And the results, they say, have been striking in their regularity over the years. The answer each time is honesty. They explain that honesty, which is the core of good character, is the quality that most enhances or damages personal reputation. They go further and say that leadership, in more than any other leadership characteristic, and from the very first time, and even until the end, honesty has always been at the top of the list. So honesty is the top of good character. This comes as a little surprise that you want to follow a leader of good character, because no one likes to work with unreliable people. No one wants to employ unreliable people. But before you or I decide to work with or follow someone, who do we have to rely on a daily basis? Ourselves. We have to look inwards and ask ourselves, are you honest within yourself? Are you honest with yourself? This is why character is so important, because if you cannot trust yourself, you can't grow. Good character with honesty and integrity at its core is essential to success in any area of life. Good character with honesty and integrity at its core is essential to success in any area of life. This transmits to the fact that no good character, then no success. Without good character, a person is said to be building on shifting sands. Bill Thrall asserts that people often focus more on their professional capacity without developing character, and it almost always costs them in the end. It cost them their personal relationships and often their career. This reminds me of a man called Lance Armstrong. I don't know I'm sure it rings a bell. He used to be a cyclist. He was at the top of his game. He was an icon. He was a cycling icon. He had won a lot of medals. He had won the Tour de France, I think between 1999 and 2005, back to back. He was the winner. In the course of his cycling career, he had cancer, testicular cancer, and he beat it. He was now even a poster person for, someone who is at the top of his game, came back, beat cancer, and kept on with his career. But guess what? In 2005, I think the American Drug Association, this is someone who even had, I think, a bronze medal or something in the Olympics. He had an Olympic medal too. Found they had been investigating him. And to date, Lance Armstrong and his team are regarded as the most sophisticated doping group that's ever been. He was using drugs to win these tournaments. He was using drugs and he was hiked. His name, he had after his cancer, comeback from cancer, he even had a company, I think, that started, having selling sports goods. Live Strong, it was all over. Live Strong. In any sports shop, the way you see Nike, the way you see Adidas, you see Live Strong. And people were buying into it because they identified with him. Exactly like Bill Thrall says, it cost them their personal relationships and often their career. Lance Armstrong now has been banned totally from cycling. He's not even allowed anywhere near the sports. That is dishonesty, cheating. Those are not the characters we are trying to highlight here today. We are trying to highlight good character because good character with honesty and integrity at its core is essential to success. Like he said here, it may be temporary. You may have some temporary success. But at the end of it, like a person building on shifting sand, everything will come crashing down. That's what happened to him. Retired General Norman Schwarzkopf said 99% of leadership failures are failures of character. So are 99% of other failures. So failure of character means failure in life. We are trying to grow. So we are focused on growing our character, not our prowess, not competitions, not capacity, but character. Most people focus too much on competence and too little on character. Can I do it? Can I not do it? Can I achieve it? Can I not achieve it? Like Jerry Anderson, yes, he had the drive. He had the goals. He had everything. But he didn't have the character. He didn't have the values and the principles that you use to achieve success. Question: how many times do people get lower grades on tests than they could have? Because they didn't study. The truth of the matter is, if you do not study, you would not get good grades. How frequently do people fail not to grow? Because they didn't set aside time to read books or just to grow, to learn. They spend something on things that are less worthwhile. All these shortcomings are the result of character and not capacity. I'll say one more thing. There is a tennis player that is that I like. His name is Novak Djokovic. There was a time, he's number one now, or maybe number two, I don't know. He's been number one since like 2011, but somewhere in the middle of it, he had a slump. This is someone that I followed, so I was wondering. They beat him everywhere. This is someone who beat everybody. There was a year he couldn't win any tournament until I heard his coach quit. Guess why his coach quit? His coach said, the truth of the matter is, he doesn't put in the work. If you do not practice, you can't get the results. Even if you are Novak Djokovic, he was focused on meditation and all. Somebody had introduced a guru to him, and that guru, once he dropped the guru, he went back all the way to the top, and he's still there now. So character growth determines the height of your personal growth, the law of the ladder. So what's this ladder about? Because we've been talking about character, but what ladder? We're talking about the ladder of character. John Maxwell is sharing his own character ladder, because we have now established that we need to build our character to grow personally, and we need to have certain values and principles in order to grow our character. So what are the rungs on John C. Maxwell's ladder character? He says that this ladder has taken him decades to develop and to get the right mindset that needs to be in place for him to improve. So let's learn from his putting in mind that we each, to grow, have to build our own character ladder. First, I will focus on being better on the inside than on the outside. Character matters. That is number one. I will focus on being better on the inside than on the outside. Character matters. Well, yes, this is what we are talking about. Character. It's a normal human desire to be concerned about how we look on the outside, because really, like we know, first impressions, yes, they go a long way, but they are not everything. There's nothing wrong with, being concerned about how we look on the outside. But what is worrisome is we concentrate more on what is outside than what is inside. We are worrying how much we look on the outside more than how we really are on the inside. Our reputation comes from what others believe about our outside, but our character represents who we are on the inside. That's why it's only when you come close to someone, you look beneath what you see. That's when you know who they really are, because their character is what is on the inside. But the good thing is that if we focus more on developing ourselves with these values and principles, which you can only develop from the inside, then you can only get better on the outside. And why is this so? The first thing is one, or we should say A here. The inside influences the outside. The truth is that you can hide from the people for some time, but at the end of the day, you can't hide from the people all of the time. Who you are inside will eventually come out. The Proverbs writer noted and said, as we think in our hearts, so we become. Proverbs 23:7. As a man is in his heart, thinketh in his heart, so he is. The truth is that what we believe, what you believe inside, is what will influence what comes outside. What we believe really matters. You become what you see in your mind. That's why a lot of motivational speakers, coaches, and trainers, they tell you, even, if you can imagine it, then you are already halfway to getting there because you already see yourself in that way. Doctors even note that positive attitude, helps for healing. An example is Jerry Anderson. Before he started reading the values and principles, he came to the conclusion that to be a successful businessman, you had to think like one. And when I was growing up, yes, there was a program on TV that says to be a millionaire, you have to think like a millionaire. So if you can picture it in your mind, then you can become it. B, inside victories precede outside ones. Yes, getting the inside right must come first. Because before you can do, you must be. He says he has often observed that people who seem to be doing all the right things on the outside but not experiencing success, there is a disconnect. He even goes on to say that the right motions outwardly with wrong motives inwardly will not bring lasting progress. That means it may bring some progress, but somewhere it will fall down. He reminds me of two friends I know. But one more thing before I talk about those friends is that he says, right outward talking with wrong inward thinking will not bring lasting success. Expressions of care on the outside with a heart of hatred or contempt on the inside will not bring lasting peace. I'll give you the story now. I knew these two friends, very close, in the same line of business, in the same career. And then, yes, going along, how are we going to get better? How are we going to get the big bucks? And then one of them gets a job abroad, now earning dollars. And the other one was still in Nigeria. But after, the one who got a job abroad said, okay, give me your CV. Or the other one told him, please let me give you my CV, see if I will find a job also. Yes, he became the bridge, yes. The other person, the other friend got the job, and the two of them were working there. I mean, from the outward, you imagine that because he did this friend this favor, that means he wanted the friend to succeed. Or else, how will you imagine that he got him this job? But when they were both abroad, things went from bad to worse and worse to disintegrated. Because the only reason I think he got him this job was just to appear to be good. But really, he didn't want his success. So, where they were working, they found out that, this other person was, he was liked more than the other one. Because maybe if it wasn't that he was liked more, maybe his bad parts wouldn't have shown. But because the one who was helped was getting more likes, I'm just using that, he would go behind his back and say something caustic about them, but not knowing that which he was doing was making things worse for himself. Because people looked at them as friends, and if you can do this to your friend, then people stay away from you. So that is how that one grew more popular than him. He didn't know that he was the one, that bad thing he was doing was what was getting people away from him. And at the end of the day, as it is now, the two of them do not even speak anymore. So sometimes the right motions outwardly with wrong motives, they don't bring lasting progress. What it does is shows you for you who you are exactly. Continual growth and lasting success are the result of aligning the inside with the outside. Because from the outside, he looked like a very good guy. He got him the job. I mean, if someone does that for you, he's a good person. But at the end of the day, you are pulling that person down. So, this is the analogy for inside victories precede outside ones. If you pretend, and you are pretending to be what you're not, it's going to come out. And at the end of the day, they will see you for who you are. C, our inside development is totally within our control. That speaks for itself. We often cannot determine what happens to us, but we can determine what happens within us. That is why we are here studying the 15 invaluable laws of growth. Jim Rohn said, character is a quality that embodies many important traits, such as integrity, courage, perseverance, confidence, and wisdom. And unlike your fingertips that you were born with and you can't change, character is something that you create within yourself, and you must take responsibility for changing. The best ways, if you have a bad character or you have something bad, you replace it with a good trait, not just wishing it away. That is one way of taking responsibility for changing. When we fail to make the right character choices within us, we give away ownership of ourselves. We belong to others or whatever gains control of us. I'll say it again. When we fail to make the right character choices within us, we give away ownership of ourselves. We belong to others or to whatever gains control of us. Because really and truly, honestly, you grow your character by having the right values and principles and living by them. You grow your character by having the right values and principles and living by them. If you live by someone else's or what you see someone else doing, you wouldn't be able to sustain it. It has to be what is of value, what is, by principle. That is why you cannot go with the flow. You can't say because someone is doing this, let me go and do it also. No. Be true to yourself. What is of value to you? That's why some people, when they go with the flow of other people's, what other people are doing, you see them, they are miserable. They're not happy because they don't believe in what they're doing. They don't believe in it. They're just going with the flow. John Maxwell says the rung on his ladder have come as a result of hard-fought personal choices. The thing is, we have a goal. We want to grow. So how to grow? How to get to that place that we want to be? That is where we pick the principles and the values from. He says every day there is a battle from the outside for me to compromise or surrender them Because sometimes what the world is doing or what people are doing around you, it may be right for them, but it's not right for you. So you stick to your guns and you stay true to yourself. Doug Farber says winning in life is more than just money, because a lot of, in most cases, we think if you are very wealthy, if you have a lot of money, your character doesn't matter. But he says winning in life is more than money. It's about winning on the inside. A lot of people, they are so wealthy, but they are not happy due to one thing or the other. It says if you want to be successful, you must prioritize building your inside ahead of your outside. That is in one word. You must stay grounded so that when the issues of life come along, they don't drown you in them. People who get hooked on drugs and all those things, they didn't start out that way. But sometimes it's a form, most times, of pain, to take away pain. Something that you are struggling with inside you. Several years ago, teenage millionaire Farrah Gray wrote a book called Millionaire. He coined the term to describe someone who has discovered there is more to money than having money. Most people think, if I have money, all is sorted. A person who understands that success is not just about being rich in your pockets. You have to be rich on the inside too. That's why some people are described as a beautiful soul. It is what is inside that people are referring to you. At a tender age, he recognized that money without a strong character foundation can lead not to success but to ruin. An example here, I'll just give one example, and that was Michael Jackson. By all means, he had fame, he had money, had success in career, in everything, but inside him, he wasn't happy with who he was, because we can see his appearance progressed and he got different and different and different. He kept on changing his appearance because he wasn't comfortable with who he was. At the end of the day, he turned up dead at 50, because for him to get sleep, he had to be knocked out by drugs that are used to perform surgeries. And so accidentally, it knocked him out and he died. This is that he crashed and burned. He had it all. I'm sure a lot of musicians nowadays, if they had what he had, or they're looking to have what he had, but he was not happy. At the end of the day, his life was troubled and he died. The values were wrong. The principles were wrong. Number 2, I will follow the golden rule. People matter. Number 2, on the character wrong, is I will follow the golden rule. People matter. The truth of the matter is that we should practice the golden rule. We should be nice people. We should be thoughtful. John Maxwell gives us a simple rule of thumb guide for our behavior. He says we should ask ourselves, what do you want people to do for you? That is, Sola, what do you want people to do for you? Do you want people to respect you? If that is what you want people to do for you, then grab the initiative and do it for them. If what you want is respect, then you give respect. If what you want is love, then give love. Following the golden rule is a wonderful character builder. It prompts you to focus on other people. And if you stick to it, people will gravitate towards you. It leads you to be empathetic. That means you care, you truly care about people around you. Everything is not about you. It encourages you to take the high road. And if you stick to it, you can't help but become the kind of person others want to be around. I believe this people matter thing, the golden rule, was what the guards in that prison were taught. That yes, they may be criminals, but they are human beings. So maybe if you offer them some, you cut them some slack, they may change. You may be able to reform them. Because after all, in the end, in all our relationships, we are either pluses or minuses in the lives of others. I'm either a plus to you or a minus in our relationship. Am I adding value to you or no? The golden rule helps us to remain a plus. Number 3, I will only teach what I believe. Passion matters. I will teach only what I believe. Passion matters. John Maxwell says most speakers are asked in their early careers to speak about a variety of subjects. But the truth of the matter is he came to the conclusion that what he doesn't believe in, he won't be speaking on. And it makes sense. If you don't have passion for something, you don't go and put yourself out as an authority on it. You will crash and burn pretty soon. You can say, oh, I'm a coach, or I'm this or that. But if you do not have the qualifications and you don't have the depth, when you get to a student or a mentee that asks a lot of questions, you will fall into trouble. Do you know what they call a speaker who teaches what he doesn't believe? A hypocrite. You are just mouthing the words. You don't believe in them. And if you are just mouthing the words, there is no passion. And if there is no passion, then there is no power. So what's the point of it? He says individuals who lack principles and passion become beige people. That means fake people. People who are, wishy-washy. Number 4, I will value humility above all virtues. Perspective matters. He decided to value humility above all virtues. Playwright and author J.M. Barrie observed that the life of every man is a diary in which he means to write one story and writes another. And in his humblest hour is when he compares the volume as is with what he hoped to make it. That is measuring yourself whether what you wanted to be or what you wanted to do is what you did in the end. He says, I've concluded that while nobody plans to mess up their life, Andy Stanley says, the problem is that few of us plan not to. That is, we don't put the necessary safeguards in place to ensure a happy ending. What you put in is what is going to come out. That's it. Humility above all other virtues. And how do we do this? 1, you remember the big picture. That is, you keep your eye on the goal, the final destination. What is it that I want to achieve? Don't focus so much on yourself. Think of the big picture, think things through. Don't dwell on problems. Rather, see the solution. A quick example of this is when I was in the banking industry. There was a banking error one day. This man, somebody posted 2 million into his account. It was an error in the IT department, and he came and drew it, the 2 million. Yeah, so the bank invited him. Oh yeah, this was an error. He said, yeah, I know, but I've used it to do business. So what do we do? Are you going to come? What they had to do was to look at the big picture. The error was the bank's, and the man is not disputing it. So what did they do? They converted it into a loan for him, because he started a business actually, selling counting machines. So to be making the loan go down, we bought as many cash counting machines from his. That is looking at the big picture. Number 2, recognize that everyone has weaknesses. Rick Warren gives good advice about how to remain humble. He suggests admitting our weaknesses, being patient with others' weaknesses, and being open to correction. 1, admitting our weaknesses, being patient with others' weaknesses, and being open to correction. He says that really he only does one fairly well. He finds it difficult to admit his weaknesses. I'm sure this applies to many of us. Or sometimes we don't like to be corrected, because that shows that to us it means maybe you don't know what you're doing. But to grow your character, you need to be open to correction. You need to be patient with others, even if you are if you are someone who, you have a short fuse. You can't just say, well, that's how I am. I have a short fuse. And what you are the business or the line of work you have has to do with interacting with people. You can't have a short fuse. The thing John C. Maxwell did was that he said he developed relationships with good people. He developed relationships with people who will speak the truth to him. He set up accountability for himself in that area. People who tell you the truth and tell you when you are doing the wrong thing. The next one is you have to be teachable. Have a beginner's mindset. It will take you places. Always be open to teaching. Don't be Mr. Know-it-all. I know everything. Nobody knows everything. Read books. Most coaches tell you learn something new every day. Don't be closed off. Read books. Learn something new every day. This helps us to be teachable. The next thing is you should be willing to serve others. Put others first. Putting others first right sizes our egos. So once you put someone before you, it calms you down. It keeps you humble. You don't focus on yourself. Always be willing to serve others. Especially if you are a leader, then you need to take more time, because you are used to being served, you may become puffed. That is, there are people who can't carry their handbags. There are people who can't push their trolleys at the shopping mall. The driver has to come and push the trolley. No. Do not be puffed. Listen and listen well, so you don't be arrogant. The next thing is you be grateful, an attitude of gratitude. Oh my word, that goes a long way in keeping you humble. Because gratitude is acknowledging that someone did for you what you could not do for yourself. It is not only gratitude when you get something, but when someone is giving you something, when someone is serving you, are you polite to them? The truth is that everything you do, every accomplishment you've had, every milestone you pass, someone has been part of it. Someone has put their effort in it. There are no self-made men or women. Someone may have recognized something or a gift you have, or decided to help you, or work with you, or put in a good word for you somewhere. A Chinese proverb says that those who drink water must remember who dug the well. And Confucius says, humility is the solid foundation of all virtues. In other words, it paves the way for character growth and sets us up for personal growth. These things are definitely connected. Number 5, I will strive to finish well. Faithfulness matters. The final rung on John Maxwell's character is faithfulness matters. That is, doing the right thing on a daily basis. You keep building your character and living at the highest standard daily. Building your character and living at the highest standard daily. Doing the right thing and becoming a better person every day. Most of us know what is right, what is wrong. Always leaning to do what is right. Even when what is wrong will be shorter to do or will be quicker to do. But because of building character, you decide to do the right thing. To have a better world, the change must start with me. It must start with you. We want the world to change. Example, Black Lives Matter. But it has to start from one person to the other. I remember something, they taught my children in school, I think something like, if it has to be, it starts with me. It was to change the culture. Stop bullying. So if you see it, speak up against it. If you know what is right, do it. Do not break the laws of the land. Do not cut corners. To be smart. The stronger your character, the greater your growth potential. Orison Swett Marden had this metaphor where he described a successful person by saying, he was born mud and died marble. Picture it, mud, marble, a mud floor, a marble floor. Born mud, died marble. That is growth. Becoming a better version of what you were. Sadly, some people are born mud and they remain mud because they don't grow. Some are born marble and die mud. That's a tragedy. That is, you didn't grow, you went the other way. But some are born mud. They dream of marble, but remain mud. You know why they remain mud? Because they only dreamt. They didn't do anything about it. Many persons of high character have been born mud and died marble. Isn't that a wonderful thought? I hope that can be said of me at the end of my life, and I hope the same for you. So, finally, how do we apply the law of the ladder to our lives? First, assess where you have put most of your focus. Critical, that is now, you yourself and you. Do I focus more on the outside or the inside? Be true to you. If you know you focus more on the outside, example he gave in the book is what your spending pattern. Did you spend more on clothes, jewelry than books? Sort of thing. If you find out you spent more on the outward, how about switching it up, focusing on learning and reading? You can do it. Join a class, join a group, a book club, something. Because this is how you determine how to shift your focus to the things that will make you grow inside. Number 2, plan to spend time in the coming months to regularly serve others. Service, put it in your character ladder. Service. I must be serving someone. One way or the other. If it's to volunteer, volunteer. If it's to join a group or join an NGO or mentor someone for free, yes, service. Number 3, U.S. Senator Dan Coates said, character cannot be summoned at the moment of crisis if it has been squandered by years of compromise and rationalization. That is, habit is the daily battleground of character. This is to change your character, to grow your character, form daily habits. What are these daily habits? What principles are important to you? Then you form a habit, a daily habit. So it's not as if when the wahala bursts, you now try and dredge it up from where it's not. But if it is something you are doing daily, it's easier than that. The only preparation for that one profound decision which can change a life or a nation is those hundreds of half-conscious, self-defining, seemingly insignificant decisions that in private. Habit is the daily battleground of character. What are your habits? Daily habits. Base them on good character. What are you doing every day to develop the habit of character growth? Are you giving attention to your soul? Are you doing hard or unpleasant things? Are you practicing the golden rule and putting others ahead of yourself? The good thing is that our character is not set. You can improve it. It's never too late. You can change who you are and your overall potential by becoming a better person. You are the artist of your own life. Do not hand the paintbrush to anyone else. I've heard it said before that we are born resembling our parents, but we die looking like our choices and our decisions. So, we are born looking like our parents, but we die looking like our decisions and our choices. So back to it. Character growth determines the height of your personal growth. So let's grow our character from today. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back at 4:30 for our main service. Bye-bye, everyone.